Welcome to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing sexual conversations from behind closed doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It's all fucking normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back, step into their confidence, and have the ability to express themselves authentically as fuck in this world. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have boatloads of audacity up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit? All right, so we are going to try to do this episode again. I actually just recorded this episode on disruptive thoughts. It was about 30 minutes long. And then once I went to edit it, realized that the microphone was not recording for the entire time, or it was going in and out of recording, which was very sad because that was a really good freaking podcast episode. So bear with me as I hope that that information that came through in the last time I recorded this comes through in this episode. But if it's a little choppy, I apologize. My brain is officially shot from that just happening to me. But let's talk about disruptive thoughts, because I had a reel or a TikTok that went viral on my old account, my biggest account. What was it? The Amanda King, when I was on TikTok. And the video, I was really surprised by the reaction to people on this video. And it was in reply to a woman's comment about how she just like wants to hear her partner, or she just closes her eyes during sex. And so I replied to the video and I basically said, yeah, like I absolutely love this comment. And this is something that I, in my own personal experience and from speaking with other women, have realized that women close their eyes during sex because of disruptive thoughts. And that disruptive thoughts will pull a woman out of the feeling of sex, out of the moment, and will basically make her, almost her entire body shut down. And that men are more visual creatures, right? So during sex, they tend to keep their eyes open. They tend to want to get the full view. But women, we want to close our eyes to sink into the feeling, to sink into the sensation, and to try and eliminate disruptive thoughts from our brains. And so I did this video and it took the fuck off. It was my highest view video of all time to this day. And I think I posted it like at least 6 to 8 months ago. And the first time I posted it, it got to 2.3 million views. And the amount of reshares and saves and comments on it was insane. Women saying, yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Oh my God, yes, this is absolutely crazy. Oh my God, you put into words what I've been trying to tell my significant other. And then I reposted the video a few months later, made it all the way up to 6 million views. And I reposted it again on Facebook, since my TikTok accounts have been banned for the 100th time. And currently it is regaining, I guess, I don't know, regaining views. It's at almost 800,000 views right now. On Facebook, when I posted it in Christmas, and people are resharing it. People are commenting again. And so I wanted to dedicate a podcast episode to kind of breaking down that reel / TikTok a little bit more, discussing some disruptive thoughts and what exactly they mean and what they do to a woman. Men have them too. And how to maybe eliminate some of those disruptive thoughts. So first, I'm going to preface this by saying that the video originally applied to a woman because a woman replied to the video. Now, do men, women, people get disruptive thoughts? Absolutely. I am going to speak in generalizations during this podcast episode. But If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't apply to you, it's okay, right? Every single person is unique. Every single person is different. But I like to speak in generalizations because this is the information that I have experienced myself, as well have discussed with other women. And so if I say, well, women only have disruptive thoughts, that doesn't mean men don't either. They absolutely do. And we're going to dive a little bit into that in this episode as well. But in general, women tend to be more sensual creatures who focus on feeling and hearing, basically the other senses besides sight. Men tend to be more visual creatures. This is why a lot of times audio porn appeals to women and regular porn appeals to men. Regular porn is a visual aspect of two people having sex, oral sex, fucking, whatever you want to call it. Men see that. They're visual creatures. They like the imagery that is playing off in front of their eyes. That makes them get off. Women tend to be a bit different. Women tend to like to be more imaginative creatures when it comes to getting off. They tend to fantasize, there we go, and allow their imaginations to take over. When they watch mainstream porn, and there are definitely women who watch porn, so I'm not saying that they don't, but a lot of times it's really hard to connect with the people who are having sex in porn. Men don't need or grasp or I don't know. It just, that connection, they can watch it without needing that connection. Women need an intimate level of connection with the porn that they're viewing. And so a lot of mainstream porn doesn't have storytelling, right? It's just two people fucking. No, women want to know who those two people are. They want to know the relationship dynamic. They want to feel the push and the pull of the romance. That's what's really a turn on for women. It's that imaginative experience. And so audio porn allows women to close their eyes and be really present in that moment with that voice or the story that's going on. And then they create a movie in their head, right? It gets to be whoever they want. The two people having sex in that moment can be them and the person that they've been fantasizing about forever. It can be two people that they fantasize about, seeing them have sex and them watching them. It gets to be whatever they want in the moment, and they can emotionally and intimately connect with that imagery and with that person because there's background and there's story to it. And so during sex, a lot of men will keep their eyes open and or ask for direct eye contact during sex. They want to see your soul leave your body as you come. Like that's an experience that everyone wants to or should experience at some point. But men tend to be the people who say, look at me. Men tend to be the people who love to watch you on top, love to see you below. They want to keep their eyes open the entire time. Women tend to want to sink into the feeling of sex more. That's why a lot of women close their eyes, use blindfolds, or shut the lights off. And this is because what they're trying to do is eliminate disruptive thoughts that come through their heads. Women and our brains tend to be on fucking hyperdrive 24/7. If you talk to a modern woman, and like I said, everyone is different, and this is a generalization, typically you'll ask them, what are you thinking? And they will spit off a laundry list of fucking 90 different things that they're thinking about at one moment. Our brains are in this constant, hyperdrive, survival mode, needing to get shit done, overachiever status. And so during sex, it can be very hard for women to pull out of that, right? To slow down the mental chatter, the mental anxiety, and really stay present in the moment, especially when their eyes are open. So when a woman typically closes her eyes during sex, it's because she wants to feel into the sensation of what she is feeling. She wants to feel how your cock feels inside of her, your fingers, your tongue, right? She wants to feel into the situation, and closing her eyes allows her to sink into that moment. Closing her eyes and or turning off the lights or being blindfolded also takes away the stimuli around her to create disruptive thoughts. A disruptive thought is a moment, or a thought in a woman's head or a person's head during sex that basically pulls them completely out of the moment. Some examples of disruptive thoughts are a woman is on top and all of a sudden she looks down at her leg and her leg looks really big to her, right? And she thinks, oh my God, I look super thick right here. Or, oh my God, I must look really bad being on top. And so instantly, even though she was really in the moment and it felt really good, the second she sees the way her thigh looks, it's like, boom, there's a switch that goes off in her brain that pulls her completely out of the moment. And then the rest of the time, all she's doing is obsessing about how her thigh just looked. Or it could be you guys are having sex, she is getting, say you're going down on her and she is having oral sex done on her and she turns her head to the right and there's a pile of laundry just chilling in the fucking corner. Hasn't been touched for days, whether it's clean, whether it's dirty. At this point, she doesn't know anymore. And in that moment, she sees that dirty laundry. She thinks, my God, I have to do laundry. Boom, she's pulled out of the moment. It becomes harder for her to achieve an orgasm. It becomes harder for her to stay present in the moment. I even had a woman on one of my, on that exact reel say, she said one time she was on top riding her husband and she literally like stopped mid-ride, looked at him and said, remember to get the deli meat or the pastrami when we go to the deli. And she said the look on her husband's face was priceless, because it was just like, it just pulled her completely out of the moment because that's what was going on in her head. These are disruptive thoughts. And every single person on this planet has them, whether it's in sex, sometimes it's just normally throughout your day, but it really tends to happen to women during sex because there's a lot of reasons. Number one, a woman typically likes to have sex with the lights off and or blindfolded because she doesn't like to look at her own body. And this is because of societal conditioning, constantly telling women that their bodies are never enough. You're never thin enough. You're never pretty enough. You're never thick enough. And every decade we are forced to quote unquote idolize this one specific body type. And if our body type doesn't look like what society says is sexy and or pretty, we start to feel like shit about ourselves. I'm a millennial. So in like growing up, it was very much like Kate Moss heroin chic. The skinnier you were, the sexier you were. Me always being a bigger, more muscular girl, I constantly felt like my body was never good enough, which would cause me to do dieting. And no matter how thin I wasn't thin enough. And so sex became this way of having to display myself, right? Because that's when you are displaying yourself at your most raw, your most carnal, oh my God, carnal, your most naked, vulnerable moment. It is literally exposing yourself to another person. And so women tend to beat themselves up more than anybody in the entire world. Even in this decade right now that we're in, everyone's idolizing the Kardashians figures, which is big tits, big ass, thick thighs, no waist. Right? It's like almost like an old Barbie doll type of stereotype, which is not realistic because all of them have had plastic surgery in order to receive that frame, right? But that's what women believe that men want and that men find sexy. And because some men do find it sexy and society finds it sexy. And so when a woman's body doesn't look like that, it's instantly like, what's wrong with me rather than what's wrong with society. And so a lot of women really don't like looking at themselves naked during sex, because on top of that, they also feel like they need to look like porn stars during sex, right? You look at porn and a lot of times it's a little bit more realistic now, but a lot of times growing up, porn was the girl who weighed 110 pounds with huge fucking tits, right? And like a tiny little fucking waist who could just suck cock for hours and get slammed for days. And it was all a show, right? It wasn't about her pleasure. It was about how her pleasure got off the man. And so women feel like they need to show up in this like porn starry kind of vibe during sex. And if you're not 110 pounds with huge tits, that doesn't feel good. You start instantly thinking, this is my partner has watched porn. I am not that person, which means they're not enjoying this moment, which is not true. but this is what goes through women's heads. And so to have sex with the light off or blindfolding or with their eyes closed isn't anything personal against their partner. It is, hey, I want to be present in this moment. I really want to experience it. I want to try to distract my disruptive thoughts. And so I need to be able to have the lights off. I need to be able to close my eyes. I need to be able to be blindfolded in order for that to happen. And as the person, the partner of someone who goes through this or needs this, it's your job to be supportive of what they need and to recognize it's not anything against you. I can always sense or tell that, how do I want to say this? So the most insecure men have commented on this video one of two ways. They have commented on the video, the reason she closes her eyes during sex is because she doesn't want to see a man happy. That screams to me, you are a bitter, angry, hurt man. Who hurt you, right? That shows me that you're super insecure about your own relationship and you're looking and making it about her rather than looking at and making it about yourself because you're the fucking problem, not her. The second comment is she's thinking of someone else. No, she's fucking not. Once again, tell me you're insecure without telling me you're insecure. This shows to me that these type of men who are commenting on the video are extremely insecure men because it's not about you. I know in the moment it may feel like it's about you because as men, they tend to want, hey, direct eye contact. Hey, look at me. I want to see you. Why don't you want to see me? It's not about you in that moment, gentlemen or partners. If you are a woman with a woman, like it's not about you. They love you. They love being with you. It's just they are trying to find a way to get out of their own brain. They are trying to find a way to enjoy that moment without all of the mental chatter. And if they open their eyes, something can distract them so easily. And then all of a sudden, they're out of it. No matter how hard they try, once you have a disruptive thought, you tend to just, it's done. You're done with sex. No matter how good it feels, no matter how much you were enjoying it before, no matter how close you were to having an orgasm, it's basically done. You're done. Because then all you can think about is the way your thigh looked, the laundry, the fact that you have to go pick up the kids afterwards. It is like this repetitive thought over and over, like a fucking hamster on a hamster wheel in your partner's brain. And so if they need to close their eyes and sink into the feeling, that's what they need to do. And you as their partner needs to accept that. Now, another comment I always receive on that video is, oh my God, well, if men are visual creatures, my partner closes his eyes sometimes during sex. What does that mean about me? It means nothing. So if your partner is a man and he closes his eyes during sex, stop and think for a second why this is. It is nothing to do with the way you look. There is an immense amount of pressure put on men during sex to last long, right? The society has told men it's your job to last 45 minutes to an hour in the sack, which it's no. The national average of intercourse time is about 20 minutes. And that is from foreplay to finishing, like ending with penetration and both partners coming, right? 20 minutes tops, 20 minutes. But society tells men that they have to last as long as humanly possible. And we definitely feed into that, right? Women feed into it, men feed into it. When women make fun of guys who bust off a little fast, and like men make fun of guys who do the same thing, or there are men walking around being like, I fucked her for 45 minutes. We're like, yeah, no, you didn't, right? It is, society feeds into that idea. And so when a man is having sex, you have to recognize it feels really good to him too. You feel really good to him. This person is extremely attracted to you. They care about you on some level. They care about your pleasure, and they love to see you naked and becoming undone and losing control and feeling that pleasure. And so men sometimes need to close their eyes, one, to sink into the feeling as well. They want to feel it, right? Sometimes closing your eyes allows you to feel it on a deeper, more visceral level because you're taking away one of the senses and relying on all of the others. And so men will close their eyes because they want to feel into it too. Another reason they close their eyes is because they're trying not to come. You Being naked in front of them is such a fucking turn on to them. They love your body. They love how you feel. They love how you make them feel, that it is hard for men to slow down sometimes when they get revved up. And so some men will close their eyes and they will create disruptive thoughts within themselves to try to last longer. So this is like, you always see the joke on TV where the guy's like about to come and then he's like, baseball, grandma, right? This is ways of men to throw disruptive thoughts to pull them out of the moment so that they don't come. So if your partner is closing their eyes, it could be they're sinking into the feeling, or they're trying not to come and they're trying to throw disruptive thoughts into their brains. Now with men, this can go sideways as well, where a man can throw so many disruptive thoughts into his brain because he's so afraid to come that he then loses his erection. Once again, it's not you. He is trying to last long because he believes he has to last long or he's going to get made fun of. And therefore he's throwing so many disruptive thoughts into his brain that eventually stress takes over, or a disruptive thought takes over, and his body innately shuts down. Same thing happens to women, right? You get so many disruptive thoughts. No matter how much you were into the moment, you just are done. Happens to men too. So if your partner is closing their eyes, they are not envisioning someone else. They are not imagining that porn girl they just saw. They are not imagining the girl they saw at the supermarket. They are trying their hardest not to bust a nut in that moment because you look phenomenal. And they love every single aspect of what you two are doing and or creating and or that intimate connection. They love that. They thrive with that. And they're trying their hardest not to come because they want to make sure that you reach optimal pleasure as well. And so know that when your partners are doing this, it's no reflection of you, whether you are the one doing it or the one who is on the other side of it. And as a partner too, if you are someone who is a bit more visual and you do like things like direct eye contact, and you do like to watch your partner come, it is about communicating to them, but also finding a middle ground to it, right? Because for someone who suffers from disruptive thoughts, for someone to sit there and say, look at me, look at me, look at me over and over again, that's going to cause a disruptive thought, right? But it's okay to say, hey, baby, keep your eyes closed. How does that feel? That feel good? Okay, but when you come, I want you to open your eyes and look at me. Or like grabbing the back of their head as they're coming and say, just look at me for a minute. That way you have this balance of you let them do their thing, you let them feel into it, but you're also getting what you need and what you desire, which is that direct eye contact, that connection through looking at each other. Everything about sex is raw and carnal and primal and almost animalistic, right? And so once again, women more specifically tend to get caught up in their heads about what they look like during sex. Ladies, who the fuck cares what you look like? No one looks good during sex. And I say that with like the best fucking intentions, right? We see sex in porn and we see sex on movies where you have like Angelina Jolie and Antonio Banderas having sex and it's so hot, right? Y'all, that is not real. It is choreographed. It is choreographed to make them look the best at the best angles. Sex is not choreographed. It shouldn't be. It should be about flow and rhythm and just being in that moment, right? So there are going to be positions that you are in and neither of you fucking look good. No one has a sexy fucking O face. Your O face is sexy to your partner, yes, because they love you, they adore you, they cherish and worship every fucking inch of you. But typically no one's O face is fucking sexy. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be in that moment where you are reaching climax and you are at your most primal, right? And that is hot for some people, but no one has a sexy fucking O face. And everyone thinks because a girl looks hot in porn or Angelina Jolie looks hot when she comes, everyone does. That's not what they look like, really. It's all a fucking performance. It's all a performance. And there's no problem with allowing yourself to say, hey, I don't need to look pretty during sex. Sex isn't about looking pretty. Sex is about just being in that moment with my partner. It is about our bodies connecting, our souls connecting, our emotional connection. It is about us. It gets to be about us and who the fuck cares what I look like. But if you have to have sex with the lights off, that's okay too. Whatever makes you most comfortable, because sex is supposed to be a moment where you release all of this tension, ladies. And so if you suffer from disruptive thoughts as well, as someone who has them and or as their partner, here are a few ways that could kind of help lessen the disruptive thoughts. So we're all adults here. So we all tend to sometimes have planned sex, right? It happens. Spontaneous sex, fucking amazing. Don't get me wrong. But there are times where life is just too fucking chaotic for spontaneous sex. And so people will have certain nights of the week that they have sex, date night or whatever it is, or if you're planning on having sex that day. So what are the thoughts that are coming up in your brain today? So sitting down and writing like, hey, I have this laundry list of shit to do. I have to cook dinner. I am like, I'm tired. I'm cranky. These are the things that feel really shitty to me today. And communicating to your partner, hey, I really want to have sex tonight. I know it's date night, but right now I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And this is everything that's on my mind. These are the things that pull me out of sex every single time we have sex. So if it's the laundry in the corner, if it is like a big thing for me is smell, I hate bad smelling things. My husband jokes that I have the sense of smell of a German Shepherd. So like he knows before we're going to have sex, he goes and lights a candle in the room, probably like a half hour before. So the room smells really good. Some people don't like sound, right? When you're having sex and there are sounds of flesh pounding upon flesh, hitting upon flesh, and the wetness, like people get distracted from those sounds. So even having your partner put some type of music on lightly in the background so that your ears and your brain have something else to focus on rather than focusing on the sounds of sex. If it's the fact that you don't like laundry in the room or you want the bed to be made and you want clean sheets on the bed, then do those things and communicate those things to your partner of like, hey, if we're going to have sex on Friday nights, like I'm down for this, but this is what I need help with. And partners preemptively start anticipating and observing your significant other during this too. So sometimes your significant other may not even recognize what's pulling them out of the moment, but you do, right? You're in that moment with them. And so if she's on top and all of a sudden she looks in the corner and all of a sudden the whole vibe of sex changes, because typically with the disruptive thought, the vibe of sex will change. You'll be like super into it. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, they're trying to rush it. They tell you all of a sudden, hey, baby, can you come for me? Or something like that. The vibe will shift. Be aware and be observant of when that vibe shifts. What was she looking at, right? Did she open her eyes or were her eyes closed? And being able afterwards to say, like during sex, hey, I noticed this a little bit. Was something that distracted you? And like just being a little bit more observant of it. Or if they come into the bedroom, like, God, it smells. I can't have sex in here. Make sure the room smells good, right? It's anticipating your partner's needs beforehand so that it feels like it's one less thing on their plate, so that they're more encouraged to go and participate in sex. It kind of falls into like the dual control model of sexual response, right? Every person has accelerators and brakes. So accelerators of sexual response are the things that turn you on. Like smell, once again, when something smells really good to me, like, oh, like musky, kind of like cedary. I love pine, right? I love anything that smells like a pine tree. So like those smells turn me on. They make me feel good. And so my husband knows that. He will go find candles. He'll buy them. He'll set them up in the room before we even have sex so that I'm walking in already knowing that that room's going to smell great and being in the room. Bubble baths relax my body, right? I am very tense all the time. I work out all the time. I'm hunched in front of a computer and on social media all the time. So bubble baths really relax my body. So preemptively, if we're going to have sex, sometimes he'll set me a bubble bath up beforehand. That way he knows it's his way of showing, hey, I know these things make you feel good. I know these are your accelerators, the things that turn you on. Let me help ease you into them so that you're not getting hit with brakes all of the time. This is how partners communicate and they make sex better for each other. It's how you stop those disruptive thoughts, right? If the laundry is piling up in the corner, gentlemen, move the fucking laundry, put it somewhere, right? Hide it somewhere so that they don't have to deal with it or see it, or it doesn't pull them out of the moment. And ladies, yes, it's your partner's job to, and I should say whoever, people. It is your partner's job to help ease the transition and keep your accelerators going, but it's also your job to try to limit your own disruptive thoughts. And this, I think, goes from recognizing that like sex gets to be a space for you to let go. Sex shouldn't be a chore or something you have to do. It should be something that you're really looking forward to doing. Sex is a place where you get to connect intimately with another person and just be so present in that moment with them. You women, we can't, it's like, I don't know. We struggle to stay present. I personally do. So maybe I'm speaking or projecting, but I'm sure some women may relate to this. Like, it's so hard for me to stay present in the moment anytime. If I'm watching TV, I'm on my phone posting on social media, looking up recipes, I'm doing fucking something, right? If I am listening to music, I'm typically typing, I'm doing 20 things at once. And sex gets to be the space where you get to be just in that moment with your partner, and it gets just all of your attention, right? It gets all of your pleasure, all of your focus. And so if you are someone like me who has this overachiever, constant hustle style of brain activity, you need to recognize that sex gets to be a space where you let go of all of that shit. I think there's the biggest difference I see between men and women is a lot of time when you're starting to have sex. And once again, this is a generalization. Every person is different. The second that first kiss happens, that first touch, that first indication that sex is about to be on the table, it's like men's brains are able to shut everything down. It's like instantly they're in that moment because they're like, I'm about to have sex. I'm about to feel connection. This is going to feel really good. I'm about to feel pleasure and I'm about to come and I can't wait. And it's like they are able to drop it all right on the floor. Women, I feel that this is harder for us to do. And I feel like we struggle with this more. And so it's about, one, recognizing that you do have the ability to shut it off, even though you don't think you do. It's about saying that the second you cross that threshold or whatever you want to say, when you're going into that room to have sex, this gets to be about you and about feeling into something, about sensuality and about orgasms and pleasure. And it gets to be a space where your body just gets to get bliss done to it and done for it. And so it's not something that is a chore or an obligation. It's something that you get to experience because you need it just as much as your partner does. Because every single person on this planet needs this level of intimacy. And there are a lot of women, and I am definitely included in this, where I used to believe that I didn't need sex and I didn't need intimacy and I could survive without it. And I was starving for it and not allowing myself to take it. I was starving myself. I always said to my friend, it's like, my husband had a cookie jar and he's like, eat the cookie. And I kept being like, no, I don't need the cookie to survive. And yet I was withering away into nothing because I did need it to survive. I was just denying myself that aspect because I believed that I could survive without pleasure and that it wasn't a priority. And that's not right. And no woman should ever feel that, because pleasure should be a priority. Pleasure makes you happy. Pleasure increases endorphins and oxytocin and all those good fucking hormones that your body is dying for, starving for. And so figuring out a way to help eliminate your breaks beforehand and kind of coaching yourself into the fact that I get to shut my fucking brain off for 15 to 20 minutes while I'm with my partner. It gets to be about me in that 15 to 20 minutes. I can walk out feeling more re-energized, feeling better if I can just let this go and surrender to the moment, letting go of all control of what is outside of the bedroom. And this is about just you being present in that moment and feeling through every single sensation that sex allows you to feel and relishing in it. Relishing, was that the right word? Possibly. Reveling in it. One of those two words. Just being in that moment, being able to be that space where you actually get to be present and your phone gets to be down and you get to experience everything that you are meant to experience. It gets to be about you. Let it be about you. And as your partner, whichever side of the fence you are on, with closed eyes, not closed eyes, disruptive thoughts, not disruptive thoughts. Like, it's just about recognizing that that moment gets to be yours with that person. And we have very few of those moments in life where we just get to be super present and connected with someone. And we should all just, I don't know, appreciate that more. And I know it's so hard. And a lot of you women may be sitting here and saying like, oh, that's so much easier said than done. Well, yes and no. Like, I won't invalidate your experience because I used to say that shit all the time, but it really comes down to choice of, do you want to make this the most pleasurable experience, or do you want to treat sex like an obligation and a chore? Because that's what it comes down to. Because if you want to make pleasure a priority, you have to make yourself a priority, and you have to make it a priority, right? It's one thing saying it's priority. It's a second thing making it an actual priority and saying, okay, these are all of the things that are running through my head on a daily basis. Please help me, partner. Women are so afraid to ask for help sometimes because we're told that we're supposed to have it all and do it all and be it all. And we should be able to juggle everyone's shit on top of our own without ever asking for help. And that is such a fucking bullshit thing that makes a lot of women look like martyrs when they're not martyrs. They're just struggling because society has told them they're not allowed to ask for help. Here's your permission to ask for help. Ask your partner. Tell your partner what you need from them in order to truly be present and experience sex with them, and say to them, even if like you used to have this super hot and heavy sex life and now your sex life isn't that great, say to them, I miss when it just was us in that moment during sex. I miss those times at the beginning when we had sex all of the time and it was just passion and intimacy and connection. It was like the whole world disappeared. You can still have those moments, but they just require a bit more communication, because guess what? A fuck ton of shit has happened between then and now. You guys aren't the same people, especially if you've been in a relationship for 10 years, right? Responsibility gets in the way, heaviness gets in the way. And if you look at your partner and just say, I just want this to be a space where all of that gets to disappear, help me figure out how to get it to disappear. That can help eliminate your disruptive thoughts and increase your accelerator so that both of you can enjoy the intimate experience that you should. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook and or on Instagram. If you think this episode was great, every feedback, every piece of fucking feedback you guys give me is amazing, and it helps me cultivate a better experience on the podcast, on my reels, on my platforms, on Smex Ed for you guys. So please, for the love of God, please give me feedback. If you know someone who needs to hear this, feel free to share this podcast episode with them. And once again, I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my